What is up, everybody? I'm NoLucksGiven, and today we are going to be taking a look at a skip game. And I did think that skip would be pretty decent coming into this patch with the change of Pumpkin to a tier 5 unit. Going to pick up Vampire here to start things off up against Pavlov. And we are going to be able to get a win and a slay with our Vampire. Vampire is a pretty strong unit to pick up right off the bat. And we get to continue to be decently strong here with a Cinderella into a Frog Prince. Plus, we can lock a Princess White and a Crafty. So, picking up 2 questing units is really good on skip. You've heard me talk about that and make decent success of questing units on skip before in the past. And the econ just works out very well and allows us to pick up some strong units to have 2 5/5s on turn 3. Pretty good. Pretty good. So that is going to be pretty nice in terms of getting us back into this game, because skip is always kind of playing a little bit on the back foot, playing a little bit of the underdog. And against Merlin, Merlin is super strong and definitely going to beat us up some more. Not before we get 2 more slays on Vampire, though, and that's one of the reasons that I do enjoy Vampire on skip as well. It's not my favorite unit that I'd pick up on turn 1. That would probably be Lucky, then followed by Brave Princess, just to get those really easy slays at the start of the game. But this is still going to be quite a good start and allow us to play some pretty strong units. So we already knew what we were doing this turn. Let's continue to skip ahead once more. Doing a lot of skipping in this video. You can see, though, we're taking a lot of damage along with the Trophy Hunter that we just beat up in this lobby too. Now my opponents are starting to get their hands on some tier 3 units, and they just have more units than us. So that is a little bit unfortunate. We're going to go down to 24. Trophy Hunter down to 25. They are right down there with us. But now we're tier 4. So now we can start to pick up some even bigger and better units. And I do think that Hippocampus is good. I probably should have just led with the Eeny Miny just in case that landed on the Rainbow Unicorn, but I wind up getting the Mummy with a +1/+1, which is pretty nice. And then we've got this 8/8 Vampire, and we've got this 4/4 Vampire that we just picked up. I'm going to lock the Masquerade Ball, because we could pick up a tier 5 unit already. And I'm not forcing pumpkins by any means, but it's certainly going to be something that I'm going to consider as pretty strong and going to be on the lookout for. So, does look like we are going to be losing this one to my opponent's support line, all of these supported trees, but we have perfect econ here to Mask Ball and then pick up a 5. And honestly, Siren is great. So we could just cut the Cindy from this roster, and we've got a really good means to play the Siren. Oh, that's right. I wind up submitting a bug report here too, because we get dwarves in the shop, and it does not pump the Masquerade Ball. So if you ever need to submit a bug report, just press F8 on the client, and then you can type in whatever is wrong and send it over to the Storybook Brawl team. I'm not entirely sure if this is a bug, but this was one of the first days on the new patch. Didn't know if the devs had considered this, and it kind of feels bad that white did not pump my doubly and my lucky that both appeared in this shop. So just sent that over for the devs to figure out if that's something that they want to change. But we do look big all of a sudden. Both myself and Trophy Hunter sitting on 17 at the bottom of the lobby. Mad Catter not too far behind, but it looks like a comeback is forming now as we knock the Horde Dragon down to 23, and looks like the Trophy Hunter won as well. We are also able to get 2 slays on Vampire again on that combat. So that just kind of shows how well Vampire is doing for you. Here we could take a mask ball, get 2 cracks at the apple, look at 2 different tier 5 units. It's not horrible. The one reason that I say that, oh, and we also get rid of Princess White. I'm done with that. Cupid is fine. Cupid allows you to do some scams. This Baba Yaga is also really good with some of the units that we're working with. I know someone in my comments recommended recently to try out sleigh units with Skip, and I've actually looked at some of my footage. I do tend to use some sleigh units with Skip. It wasn't like intentional, and I don't generally tend to go into sleigh as a comp. But it's hard to say that this isn't going into sleigh as a comp. There's no Shadow Assassin here, and I haven't picked up this Baba Yaga yet, but 4 of my 7 units do have the sleigh mechanic, so I guess this is sleigh as a comp if anything is, right? Brave Princess going to take out our Vampire, and Chupacabra going to fail to slay. A little unfortunate, but looks like we should be able to steal with the Siren, and we steal their biggest unit, so I am not complaining. Brave Princess should be able to just clean this up, right? No, we actually lose to the range unit. Take a little bit more damage, down to 12. So we are now at a point where we really got to stop losing and figure this out. What are we looking for? Well, I was going to say we're really looking for pumpkins now that we're 5. That's one of the bigger things to do with Skip. And could even... Oh, I've got the Cindy. Right. So the plan here is we could Cindy and then we could skip this treasure, and that would give us the econ to pick up 1 of these sirens. And when I see runestones, that does kind of complicate things a little bit, because I do think runestones is reasonable, but I'm still going to pick up another Southern Sea Siren and lock the triple to get a tier 5 treasure. There's some good tier 5 treasures that we could wind up picking up. But basically, Skip used to be really strong and XP used to be really strong when you would rush to level 5 and then just pick up mummies. That was back when Mummy was a tier 5 unit and dealt its damage according to its attack. I still believe that was part of it. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it just did the same amount. I don't remember. But it dealt damage to all of your opponent's creatures. So that meant that Mummy could quite easily just wipe out boards when it was ahead of the curve. Chupacabra supporting Siren, by the way, really, really good, because that is going to mean that we are able to continue to scale with the Siren and grow with it, and we're also able to scale with my opponent's Chupacabra on the Baba Yaga, so the Siren gets to walk away with some additional stats as well. But now I think is when we've really stabilized. We're going to get a tier 5 treasure here, so Monkey's Paw, obviously, really, really good, but Staff of the Old Toad, when we are pumpkin hunting like we are, I think is really good, but Monkey's Paw is also really good if we find the pumpkin, so it's really tough to say. But I wind up going with the Monkey's Paw because there are ways that I can play down a unit and really make this work here. Look for Sarcophagus, don't find it. I guess this is going to be a sleigh game as we pick up the Bad Moon, and now we are still probably rolling for pumpkin. This is an interesting decision point, too, because we could sell our Polywoggle to Earthquake against the Trophy Hunter, which could certainly take out some of their high roll potential, but is also going to make it more likely that their Grim Souls start to slay, so it could actually backfire on us slightly. Really just debating if I want this Mummy, because I don't actually have a place for it on the board. I could also use the Southern Siren to get supported by the Baba Yaga, which is something that you can do when you're playing down a unit. That can kind of work out, though also it's an upgraded Southern Siren, so it's going to summon additional things regardless. Pavlov's doing pretty well, though, here with a Boots and a Monster Book on the Trophy Hunter, they are going to be making quite the squad. Southern Siren going to be able to just barely live and steal a Wizard's Familiar, though, but they definitely have some decent treasures right now for Trophy Hunter. We do see a monster book, but I want some pumpkins. So I will roll and pick up pumpkins here, cutting the Lonely Prince for that. Could take the pair of Chupacabra. There are treasures on tier 4 that I do enjoy, so I don't hate taking the Chupacabra here. Basically, Summoning Portal, that is the main one that we'd want to see, and it's really just Summoning Portal, but I'm going to decide that that is not enough for me. Don't want the trash can at this point because we are already level 6 next turn, so it would just be a waste of 4 gold. Could feed the Kraken, but I think the plan is let's just roll for pumpkins while we are still at tier 5. The pair of rotten apple trees is definitely a little bit tempting. There's also a Nyan Sea Terror. There's definitely some choices to make right now. I'm not sure what I feel about locking here. I think I remember doing it, unless I'm getting it confused with a different game, but let me know if you would lock here, if you'd consider just picking up these shoulder fairies on your subsequent turns, and if you think, or not shoulder fairies, I was just reading the different card and thinking out loud. If you'd consider picking up these Rotten Applewoods and this Nyan Sea Terror, and if you think that that is worth locking for. We are going to be popping the pumpkin here, and let's see, is that enough? Is pumpkin enough just by itself? It looks like it will be, with these mummies and the fact that we're stealing a pair of Spellweavers from our opponent too. Yeah, looks like that will be enough to get the win against Merlin, our lobby leader, our 41 health lobby leader, bring them back down to 29. So what's interesting here is if I sell 3 things, I can also purchase the Nyan Sea Terror. So I think right now I'm tempted to, and we can still sell 3 things and play down a unit, play exactly 6 units. So I feel like we're going to see the Chupacabra bite the dust, and that is part of why this was the formation that I came up with. Or rather, why I decided to lock is what I'm really getting at here. So yeah, we can pick up both of these apple trees and then pick up the Sea Terror, and honestly that is why I decided to make the play like I did, and now we just have to figure out the rest of the board. I should move the pumpkin back over one more, just so that way the Siren can summon in spot 6, and that unit can then die before the pumpkin does as well. Up against APOC, who might be on their tier 6 turn, which could be scary, though we're up 2 XP, right? So APOC would have to be up 2 XP as well, which is certainly within reason for APOC. Yeah, looks like this is exactly their tier 6 turn, and we miss killing that unit by 1, miss killing that unit by 5, so definitely missing some huge breakpoints here. Going to need this pumpkin to do some work for us, and 2 Medusas is not bad. 2 Medusas frontline, though, is not great, but we also have 2 monster books, one of which is going to get a nice little scam there, but my opponent's bear-stained pigs are going to be too much. We are going to get some really good combat RNG that is going to allow us to do some nice things here, though, so that's at least something, but our second monster book isn't going to do much for us. That's going to bring us down to 2 and give them a 4 glory as well. So we definitely cannot lose again. That is the good thing about playing against APOC on their... I mean, it's not good, but none of their units were upgraded is basically all that I'm getting at because we played APOC so early. So, interesting treasure here. Double your support bonuses while we've got a pair of Baba Yaga. Certainly tempting, and we could move in to something like a Jormungand comp. However, we do have this pumpkin plus monkey's paw. We'd have to drop the monkey's paw if we went into a sleigh build, and that set certainly pushes us more towards in the pumpkin realm. I'm also, I think, debating this Helm of the Ugly Gosling. Main reason being, we cannot lose again. But I'm going to take the Hand of Midas, and then I think I'm just going to roll and see if we can't come up with a last second pumpkin. We could still find a pumpkin right now. We'd have to sell 2 of our things in the shop, or 2 of our things on the board rather, grab the upgraded pumpkin plus sell the chicken. But I'm just going to go for the fireball. Hopefully that is enough, and we'll be able to do some things in the next combat. My opponent getting to slay with Jormungand, so that is certainly pretty scary. We get a pair of crafties from them, though, which I think that's going to do something. It's not going to do nothing, but we got to take out this Jormungand here. We've got the crafty going into it. We're going to have our pumpkin going into it as well, and then we will be able to take it out eventually now with this Medusa. So Jormungand is dealt with. My opponent has a bunch of backlined range units. Shouldn't be too big of a problem, but not looking fantastic for us. Both of them now on 0 health. Of course, that's going to make things a little bit easier and mean that Mad Mim can finish off the job. So we are staying alive. We get to pick up a golden pumpkin here. We're also up against the ghost, so we've got some time to figure out exactly what it is that we want to do. We'll cut the Nyan Sea Terror and figure this out now. So what do we want from here? Well, we probably want to add a Medusa to our roster. I could see taking the Oni King because we are kind of a sleigh build, though we've been just barely missing these sleighs, which really compounds because when we miss a sleigh, the Vampire doesn't get the +2/+2, and then it's also not getting like +2/+4 from Bad Moon. So we're missing out on a ton of stats there. Roll past the Medusa and am rewarded handsomely with another pumpkin. So I am going to have enough time to sell down and pick up this pumpkin here. I'll hang on to the Nyan Sea Terror just because Mimic Chest with this Monkey's Paw could be really good, and we'll just be playing a bunch of pumpkin patches for the time being. We're up against the ghost, so I don't care that we take like a small depowering right now, because it still feels like it's strong for us. Pick up a pair of Lancelots from my opponent. That's not really going to do much of anything, but it's going to give us a pretty easy time this combat, I do think. My opponent's Wizard's Familiar just barely surviving, but that's fine if a few of our units die before we summon some more units with another pumpkin. And from here, it should be pretty smooth sailing. We're up against the ghost, so wasn't terribly concerned. But yeah, here it is. And then we'll take the ghost out. So now we're in top 3 territory. And I'm going to take this Nyan Sea Terror. Mimic Chest is absolutely wonderful. Now all of our units, including those summoned from our pumpkins, are getting +12/+12. So all of this is looking really good. I am looking for one more unit to potentially add to the roster, and why not take another pumpkin? I think we might just skip on this treasure, though. Dracula's Saber, probably a pretty nice upgrade over the Bad Moon. This does mean we have to play down a unit, but it doesn't really matter that we play down a unit, because if our Southern Siren gets to slay, then that means we'll get to steal 2 units from my opponent as well. And we're up against a Trophy Hunter, so we could wind up stealing some pretty good units from them too. I could see putting the pumpkin in either 5 or 6. There's definitely a call for both, depending on what we steal. It could work out better either way, but this is what I decide to go with. So Southern Siren, as long as that gets a sleigh, we are looking good up against the Trophy Hunter, and they actually get a sleigh with their Grim Soul. That's going to turn one of my pumpkins into a pig, and then it is going to cast a whole bunch more spells. And when I say a whole bunch more, I mean a whole bunch more, because it's also going to kill their other Grim Soul, which is then again going to trigger on this upgraded monster book. And Both of these are triggering the monster book twice. However, if we take a look at their treasures, which I think I will mouse over in a second, they actually have the perfect treasures. They have got the evil eye, and they have got the horn, and they've got the boots, just to ensure. I mean, let's not forget, this combat just started. My opponent attacked with the Grimsoul, and then the combat ended. So that is all that we got to see. I think I'm going to mouse over them here now. Yeah, so Evil Eye to double the Baba Yaga, which was supporting the Grimsoul, and then Horn of Olympus means that the Baba Yaga is also supporting the Monster Book doubly. And then the Horn also means that, like, the Sporko was giving extra attack to the Grimsoul and just allowed all of this madness to happen. So, turns out we were not the underdog in this story. Turns out we were not the main character, and the main character is actually Pavlov with this insane trophy hunter. You can see this Merlin emoting with us. The fact that the Merlin can see me emoting and knows that I'm dead actually gives them some pretty crazy information, because now this Merlin knows that I'm stuck in a combat that has a bunch of triggers going on in it. The only saving grace that I could potentially have is if somehow enough falling stars get cast that my opponent takes out their own Wizard's Familiar. But that is going to be it for me for this game. We are going to go out in third place with, honestly, a pretty good skip board. You're not going to beat a trophy hunter like that in the end game that just had such a dominating performance like that. This is my moments taken right before a disaster picture, as we can see the Grimsoul about to slay, and we can try to briefly calculate how many times it's going to slay. It's getting supported by the Baba Yaga twice because of the Evil Eye, so that is going to add 4 additional slays to it. Each Baba Yaga adding 2 additional slays. So that is 5 slays. And then it is also going to get the last breath. So let's just call that 6 slays. That 6 is going to become 12 because it says it triggers the slays twice. So we're going to see 12 slays on the monster book. Let's make it 13 because we know that this Grimsoul is also going to die. Each slay that happens on this doubled monster book is 2 spells, so we're up to 26 spells. However, this monster book is also being supported by this Baba Yaga, which means that we are multiplying it by 5 yet again. So that is going to be 105 spells plus 1 more when this monster book dies, so 106 spells. It's going to be pretty tough to survive that one. I did also reach out to Pavlov after the game just because that was such an incredible finish. They let me know that in addition to the boots and the monster book, they also had the early bounty board, which is going to make that a pretty incredible game. And then they showed me their final screen, which is pretty exciting to show off here because they tripled the Grimsoul. They also tripled their other monster book, so that just both of those things gave them really good insurance. They also tripled the Wizard's Familiar, and you can see just how crazy out of hand this got to by the end of it all. So pretty insane stuff here. Wizard's Familiar up into the 500s. They probably only played 1 or 2 more battles, and you gotta remember, against us, the Wizard's Familiar was like a 60-60 at the start of the battle, and that was probably only from being in once. So pretty incredible stuff there to finish off from Pavlov, and a really dominating performance by Trophy Hunter. That was kind of why I was painting us both as the underdogs together, because Trophy Hunter, I think, was really the star of this video. And after talking with Pavlov some and seeing this in action, I felt a lot more confident to try out this strategy myself, and I also am able to put together some pretty spectacular trophy hunter wins that I think you guys will see in the future that I would say potentially even rival this one. So that's going to be it for me today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I'm NoLucksGiven. Peace.